Hello all and welcome to Cooking with LLG1. This week we are making avocado quinoa stuffed acorn. Sounds yummy, right? Helping us this week is Abrar, Francis, Ghazal, Karen, Latoya, and Melody. Did you know that quinoa makes for a complete protein that has a nutty, rich flavor and texture? Combine that with feta, this main course will have you craving the healthy and comforting flavors of fall. Of note, the meal that we are preparing for you today is easy to make and is also an adaptation from the original recipe. So let's jump right in. To make this recipe, you will need the following: yellow corn squash, chopped scallions, red and black beans. Here we use Trader Joe's and Goya. However, you can use whatever brand your heart's desire. Green chilies and cumin, feta cheese, quinoa. Here we used harvest grain quinoa, but again, you can use whatever brand you like. And finally, chopped avocado.
This is the kind of look that you want to go for to know that the squash are ready. A little bit of browning, golden brown around the edges. But you can take a prong and poke it, and if it goes through fairly easily, you know that it's done. So the next step that we're going to take is to prep the filling for the squash. We can go ahead and plate it. You want to probably have a little bit of a deepness to it so that you can then stuff it. We're going to heat a little olive oil at medium heat to then put the rest of our ingredients together. So right now, Ghazal will be adding the diced red onions that we prepped earlier today, and let that cook down a little bit. A red onion is a good substitute. The original recipe calls for a white onion, but red onion has less of a kick to it. You're able to eat it raw if you want to. And it's just a nice addition. We're adding about a 1/4 tablespoon of garlic, which will also let simmer with the onions. If you are into more of a garlic flavor, you can go ahead and add more of that depending on your preferred flavor profile. So we're going to bring that to a bit of a simmer. Once you start hearing the oil crackle a little bit, you know that you're ready to add the rest of the ingredients. In speaking about the original recipe, which we've adapted, it did call for black beans, but we're making it our own today and decided to go with red kidney beans. Once you make this recipe, feel free to experiment, add whatever flavors you'd like. If you're into adobo, you can do that. If you know that you don't like spicy food, you can reduce the spice level. But feel free to make it your own and experiment in the kitchen. But this recipe is very approachable because it uses both ingredients that we're familiar with and adds a little bit of a twist to it. So now you're hearing the little bit of the crackle going on, and we'll be adding the rest of our ingredients shortly. To the right, you see that our quinoa has fully absorbed the water and it's fully cooked, and that we'll be using it to add to the rest of the ingredients once everything's prepped. Now we're going to add the green onions. Some green chilies. If you prep this ahead of time, it'll make the end result a little faster because you'll be able to just add things together. So it's always good anytime that you have a little bit of time to cut things, chop things, dice them, and slice them so that you can just add it at the end. We're going to add a tablespoon of coriander. Coriander comes from the cilantro family. It is ground and has similar flavor profile, but unlike cilantro, this is in spice form, not in herb form. We'll be adding a tablespoon of cumin and letting the flavors kind of mellow together. You want to cook it down until the onions are a little translucent and soft. You want to definitely soften it and take away the bite from the onion. But you want to make sure not to overcook it. So you're looking at softening the onions and making sure that all the flavors melt together well. So now we're going to be adding 1 can of kidney beans. If you don't like canned beans, you can also buy them fresh and then boil them and on your own. But the can really cuts down on the amount of cooking you have to do. Make sure you drain them. We don't want the liquids with them. We just want the beans. This is when you can start playing around with spices. If you taste it and you find that it needs a little bit more pepper or salt, you can go ahead and add it here. A pinch of salt and a couple twists of the pepper grinder should be fine. Next, we're going to add the quinoa to the bean mixture. You don't have to add all of it if you don't want to. You can just play around with the quantities since eventually this will be used as the stuffing for our acorn squash. And again, you're free to use whatever grain you feel comfortable or familiar with, whatever's on sale. If you wanted to make this a meat-based recipe, you could add ground beef or ground turkey or chicken and make it your own. But feel free to experiment in the kitchen and make it your own. Something that you and your family enjoy. We're gonna squeeze the juice of the lemon right into the mixture and add a little freshness to it. The lemon will also bring out the flavor of the chili and add a little freshness to the quinoa. And finally, we're going to be adding feta cheese. If you're lactose intolerant or if you don't like feta, feel free to use any crumbled cheese or leave it out entirely. Feta can come in block form and you can cut it up yourself, or you can buy it just like this, the way they sell it typically in the salad section or the dairy section. And you can go ahead and add it. Okay, we're good. Am I saying we're good? Yeah. So right now, Ghazal is using our quinoa mixture to scoop it right into the acorn and stuff it. That's okay.
Good, right? Okay, let's take a look at why and how this video is so important to adult learners. If you are anything like me, you have a busy life. You have the children, your husband, your wife, your family, your career, and very little time to make meals that require long preparation and cooking time that are healthy and yummy. Before you know it, the day is done, and you're rushing to bed only to wake up in the morning rushing everyone out of the door. Then it hits you. Oh no. What will I make for dinner tonight? Believe it or not, this thought process takes you down a complete full learning cycle that you are completely unaware of. Let's break this down a little further. In 1984, David Kolb published his theory surrounding adult learning. It was Kolb's belief that experiential learning theory works via 2 levels. At level 1, you have a 4-stage cycle of learning. At level 2, you have 4 separate learning styles. Kolb also believed that learning involved the acquisition of abstract concepts that can be applied flexibly in a range of situations. Kolb further believed that learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experiences. So how amazing would it be to learn about a recipe that would not take up too much of your time and is simple to remember and process? As we review the steps of Kolb's learning cycle, we see how it correlates to this video learning experience. The first step in Kolb's learning cycle is the concrete experience. It is here that you think of the meal that you will prepare, sort of like the introduction of a new recipe. The second step is reflective observation. This step allows you to reflect on the ingredients that you will need. The third step is abstract conceptualization. This step accounts for any adaptation to the original recipe for cultivation to your own personal taste, style, and culture. And the fourth step is active experimentation. This is the step where you apply what you have learned and put the meal together in preparation for its final outcome. Interesting, huh? So not only does this learning process apply to an adult learning theory, but it also encourages better cooking skills and habits. It promotes a healthier lifestyle by knowing the ingredients and being able to control its portion.
This is a no-brainer, right? Who would not want all of these benefits after working a long day and trying to stay healthy while also maintaining a budget? I know we would. Well, folks, thank you so much for spending your time with us. I hope that you enjoyed the experience and learned a bit. If I were you, I would go out tonight, grab these ingredients, and get to cooking. You will not be disappointed.